thanks again for representing the union's perspective in this ongoing labor dispute. There's no question in my mind that this will be resolved satisfactorily. This is a part of the process. We're at a critical juncture. You're correct. I believe that the law will be followed. I think there is disagreement about the law, and that needs to be interpreted by the courts or the appropriate people.
I agree.
I do think that if no other way it will be resolved by arbitration, my hope would be that you and TriMet management, your local TriMet management, can work something out in the interim. But there is no question that we will follow the law, and there's no question that this issue will be resolved, and probably in a fair manner. That's my hope, and that's our intention, and I believe we're on the road in a critical area of this process, and that it will be okay.
Well, Mr. Chair, you mentioned that Mr. McFarland was ready to go back to the table. Is there any information that anybody would like to provide today? Because from my last correspondence, I never got a return phone call.
There's a little bit of a miscommunication, at least to the board, on the willingness of ATU to engage in negotiations. So I think that's probably an area. I'm not going to negotiate here.
I understand. Mr. Chairman, just to follow up though.
I will say that, no, John, I will say this. I'm certain that Neil and management staff are willing to negotiate. I believe they have an offer on the table that...
Mr. Chairman, they're implementing, that's not an offer. And as we bargain, we need to have them rescind so that that collective bargaining process can take place. And if we're unable to resolve that, the mechanism is already in place and it's moving forward to arbitration. What we can't have is our members faced with all of these uncertainties as we sit down and try to do good faith bargaining. That's what got us into the problem in the first place, is because an unfair labor practice was filed and TriMet retaliated. Neil said in just 2 days ago, speaking to our group, that no, he would not have implemented this had we not filed an unfair labor practice. So I ask you, why is that the case?
Jonathan, you're addressing the board first. You're addressing the board first of all. This will be resolved, and I do believe that TriMet is willing to negotiate.
Could you give me a date?
And also, I want to make it clear that if there's, we need to get your members the information they need about health care. And I will pledge to work with management to do that.
Well, would you pledge that we should not have an open enrollment when people don't know the information? Would you agree that we should put the thing on hold until everybody's properly informed?
I agree that you should have the
information. This is a major effect on their livelihood.
I understand.
Retirees January 1 will be faced with figures that they're not used to. They're going to be faced rather on their limited income what they're going to do. Are they going to
Jonathan, I understand that, and I also want to, before everybody leaves this room, I want you to know that the board does acknowledge, appreciate what our unionized employees bring to the organization. That's something that I don't know that they hear, but we know it's a difficult and stressful job. We understand, and we have every intention of being fair in our labor negotiations and our ultimate compensation package.
Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, the message that came out from this organization through their PR person, focus the person that speaks for Neil McFarland and all of you. If you go back and look at those tapes, they have ran our members into the ground. They've disrespected our members. Go back and look at the snow and ice issues. Go back and look at the tragedies that have taken place. The spokesperson of this organization should be speaking collectively together. And I believe they're speaking for you, and the message to come out is not good. Okay. And we need to fix that.
Okay. None of this is going to be resolved in this session today, but we do appreciate your position, and we also appreciate your willingness to come back to the table and negotiate in good faith.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Chairman and the board.
We're going to move on to the general manager's report and the monthly delegated authority.
Mr. Board President, members of the the board, and I thank you very much for being here. Obviously, this is a difficult time and a very stressful time. We have provided to the board a copy of the chronology of major events associated with the contract and our efforts to negotiate a settlement. I would just note that we remain anxious to negotiate a settlement with the ATU. We're anxious to do that at any time. We were at the table last Friday. There are preconditions that the ATU is seeking right now to that conversation that is making it not productive. That said, I'm anxious to sit down at any time and talk about that. And if that's not possible, then we would be very anxious to see a very quick and fair arbitration take place. And so our objective is to move to a settlement as quickly as we can. You know from your perspective that from a financial standpoint and from the stability of the organization and for all the other important things that the region calls upon TriMet to do, that's an important obligation for us to meet. And so we're very anxious to do that. And so that's my message to everybody here, is that we are anxious. We will be beginning with the open enrollment process this week. There'll be lots of information available. We'll have lots of people available.
Stop breaking the law.
And so we will move forward with this, but again, we're very anxious to get to the ultimate settlement, and we'll do that as quickly as we can. So that's message number one. Number two, I do want to actually very constructively move ahead on another front. As you know, we faced a very serious safety situation when I took this job on July 1. We've faced a few other situations as well. But we have, as you well know, completed the top-to-bottom safety review by K&J. I'll provide you a quick report, status report on where we are with that. But also, as you may recall, I appointed a Safety and Service Excellence Task Force that has been meeting diligently amongst themselves in public forum, receiving a number of public comments. Actually had a really wonderful session, I think, with TriMet employees where a number of great ideas were identified. All of that has led to a report from the task force. So at this point in time, I'd like to invite Tom Walsh and Shirley Carter, if they're here, if they can find their way to the front, to actually describe and review the results of the Safety and Service Excellence Task Force and their recommendations to us. And upon that, I would like to then perhaps talk a little bit further about the implementation steps we're on. Tom and Shirley, thank you and welcome very much.
Thank you also for sharing, first of all, effort that I think is going to probably change the culture at TriMet and with respect to safety and have some very positive outcomes for the agency long-term for its employees and for the people of the district. So thank you, Tom, for your willingness to spend time in this. And Shirley, I've heard some of your comments too, and your perspective is really valued as an operator. So with that, I'm going to summarize your report.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Your comments really reflect the conclusions embodied in the recommendations the task force has made to Neil. What is needed to elevate safety to a primary value literally is a cultural change that needs to come. It will come under Neil's leadership. You've had the report, so I'm not going to run through the details of that. Let me first express unlimited appreciation for Neil's openness, cooperation, and insights as he convened the 12 members who served on the task force. TriMet has a long history of, at appropriate times, appointing task forces. When I was general manager, I think we had 3 of them. And this, I believe, has to be the most unusual task force assembled, in no small part because of the varied backgrounds of members of it, most importantly, 2 operators, including Shirley. We met in 9 formal sessions over 12 weeks and numerous other sessions. Our report is short, it is clear, We had 19 recommendations, been in 4 categories. Let me make 2 points about those recommendations. The recommendations to Neil, I want to emphasize that, they are recommendations to Neil. They are not advice to Neil, they are not orders to Neil, they are our best thoughts as a mechanism to elevate safety from what it is today, a priority, which is enforced unevenly throughout the agency, to a core value. But at the end of the day, the responsibility, the obligation, and the leadership falls to Neil. You as a board, and I would strongly encourage, need to be both aware of that and support Neil in that. But this organization will look to one single individual in the implementation of the new standard of safety. That will be Neil McFarland, the general manager. His success as general manager or his failure as general manager will ride on that. Those are very blunt terms, but they come from someone who has nearly 50 years of experience in safety. I've been at low points myself. You can have a lot of support, but Neil has to do it himself. Summed up, our problem statement, which is included in the report, said that safety is unevenly enforced up and down throughout TriMet. It competes for limited time, attention, and resources with other priorities. That is not a damning indictment, but is a clear statement of fact, and it is an unacceptable situation. Safety is not a priority that competes with other priorities. Safety has to be a value. Values never compete with priorities. So in summary, what are our recommendations? 1, safety absolutely must become a value and not a priority. 2, Neil cannot succeed as general manager without transforming the culture. And 3, every operator on every line, every day, has to subscribe to safety as the highest value. One of the real joys for me in serving on this task force was to be able to work with Shirley Carter. Shirley arrived at TriMet before I did. When I was at TriMet, I had paid more attention to people like Shirley. You wouldn't have the situation that we do today. I can't say enough for Shirley and about Shirley, with one exception. I could say I wish she hadn't retired. No retirement is final. So Neil, one of your obligations is, how do you bring Shirley back? Not Shirley, I'm sure Shirley wants to